Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is dark? Well, it may very well be the least originally named title in the history of video games. No, actually, never mind, that goes to gun. Whatever the case, Dark is a stealth game whereby you are a fledgling vampire who is completely useless at pretty much everything. Yeah, it's pretty true, I'm afraid. It is made by Realmforge, a company that has not really made all that many games of note. It made Dungeons, which was not that great. Also made Mud TV and Seville. And now has, for some reason, decided it wanted to make a stealth game with lots of purple in it. Now, I'm okay with the lots of purple. I like purple. Dark purple is my favorite color. Why? I don't know. I just like the color. Simple as that. Question is the game any good? And more to the point, why the bloody hell is it trying to ape Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines? Well, I mean, there's definitely worse games to ape. Unfortunately, the title is nothing like that. So, just get that out of your head right now. Alright, let's have a look at the options menu, shall we, before we go in. A reasonable number, in fact, it's not too bad at all. You can mess around with an awful lot there. It is a third-person game. The FOV is fairly wide to begin with, so shouldn't really have too many problems there. I've said it 1,000 times before. Third-person game FOV sliders are fairly rare and usually not required, although it would be nice. There's a lot of stuff, as you can see. And it actually does have an FOV slider, by the way. Yeah. It was hiding. Stealth game indeed. You can actually just jack that FOV up if you so desire. I would as well, because it's going to let you see an awful lot more. So, let's go for 95 there. It does have 3D, assuming that you actually want to use that. Separate sound sliders in general. Key bindings, yep, you can change those, always good. I mean, overall, there's really nothing to complain about in the options menu. This is a multi-platform release. It did come out for 360 as well, so the PC version does appear to be the best. Alright. Well, let's continue, shall we, and show you exactly what's going on with Dark. There are not only human enemies in the game. Yeah, it's true, although the human enemies are significantly more difficult than the other ones. So, it is a stealth game, a third-person stealth game. You're a fledgling vampire, and you sneak around awkwardly. Running at people is generally a very bad idea. It is very much based around sneaking, for the most part. But, of course, being a vampire, you also have vampiric abilities, such as the ability to do a so-called shadow leap, which is a teleport. It will also teleport you right into cover if you so desire. And weirdly enough, as you can see, the cover system is a little odd. You're able to do short teleports along a wall, which you can spam, which ends up being really, really weird. Actually ends up being one of the fastest ways to move, but it causes the camera to spaz out, as you can see right there. The point is to allow you to get from place to place in cover with a short teleport, as opposed to actually animating around it. I have to wonder if that was deliberate, considering the animation quality in this game it has some problems, let's just say. Note the following. Yay! Let's not bother to animate the actual movement, we'll just go with the whole 8 directions thing. Funnily enough, they did bother to animate this, even though you can spin around like an idiot, but they didn't bother to animate that. Why? I have no idea. A little lazy, to say the least. So, the game is primarily based around sneaking, and occasionally running into cutscenes, which we are about to do. Not really sure that saw is actually connected with anything. In fact, the game does have some fairly significant problems when it comes to its... You're not sawing anything, there's nothing there, what are you doing? The game has some very significant problems when it comes to animations, and just... they're being astonishingly awful. And I'll show you when I get to suck the blood of an enemy, because it actually is hilarious. Good lord. So for the most part, it's a case of bypassing obstacles via stealth. The combat system extends to a one-shot kill, unless of course the game just wants you to do it for you, which is rather annoying.
Get him! Get him!
Yep, let's do it again. You know you want to teleport, you really, really do. It's going to teleport me directly into cover there. The combat system consists of clicking a button. Yeah. So I'm just going to stay here, wait for this guy to come along. Or I could just go at him if I so desire. If I do that, though, I'm going to end up alerting them. And this can be problematic. But for the most part, you can just kind of run through bullets, assuming that you feed enough, because your health regenerates very, very slowly. So there is this feeding mechanic within the game that allows you to drain blood. Let's see if I can sneak around the back of him. Shouldn't be too difficult, and then I'll feed on him. Prepare for animation quality! I'm apparently feeding on him by lightly blowing on his neck. How romantic. And this takes like a good 5 or 6 seconds to do as well, which is rather annoying. But you need it in order to power your various vampire magics, as you can see right here. I haven't got any of these yet, I don't think. You have to unlock them as you gain experience. You unlock them by hitting the tab button. I actually have some power points to spend, so let's do that. Powers, instant kill. Yeah, which does exactly what you would expect it to. Feed, which is pretty much default. Thankfully, there is an ability that allows you to reduce the feed time to 4 seconds, which is always reasonably nice. And then you've got Shadow Leap there. I can reduce the Shadow Leap cooldown. So there's various kind of linear upgrades as well as passive powers and vampiric powers like Distract, Shadow Kill, and so on and so forth. The nice thing about most of these powers is they are fairly non-linear in nature in the sense that you can just kind of grab which ones you want for the most part. So if I want to grab Distract, I can do that, or maybe I want Shadow Grip, for instance. I could do that instead. Vampiric Speed, and so on and so forth. Which is quite nice. Which ones do I want? I could just look for the passives. That might be a decent idea. You can now see whether an enemy can hear you. Well, that's probably very, very useful, so I think I'm going to be grabbing that, considering stealth is the majority of this game. Alright, for the next 5 minutes, it's probably going to throw a couple of enemies at me over and over and over again. The combat system extends to me clicking on them, and then they will die. Occasionally, the enemy will get awkward and kind of knock you back a bit, but you just keep clicking, and eventually you'll instantly kill them. I haven't run into any enemies so far, about an hour into the game, which actually... Oh, that was beautiful. I love that. Ragdoll got stuck in the door. Anyway, I haven't run into any enemy thus far that has actually required any more than 1 hit. I'm not sure if they do or they don't. But considering it is a stealth game, supposedly, then they probably won't. That Ragdoll needs to calm the hell down.
He has to be back there.
Now, one of the best ways to deal with enemies is just to kind of hide, stand up, and then just hit them. Like that. The enemies are astonishingly brain dead most of the time. There's a lot of the areas where you can actually alert enemies to your presence, hide directly in where they should be looking, like around here, and then they will slowly advance on you one by one, at which point you click on them, kill them, and do that over and over and over again. When they don't do that, they always go around the wrong way anyway, and they can just sneak right behind them and just kill them, which is hilariously easy. Now, the game does pose a challenge if you want to go for a full stealth playthrough. If you want to avoid detection altogether, which is optimal because you get more experience that way to unlock more abilities, then you can do that. However, the game doesn't require you to do it, and quite frankly, the best way to play the game is to play stealth until you get discovered and then just kill everybody. It's fairly easy to do. If you stand out in the open for too long, you can get gunned down. Don't get me wrong, that can happen. But for the most part, because of the cover system and the fact that the AI is astonishingly stupid, then you could just kind of hang around, wait for them to come around the corner, kill them, and keep doing that until everyone in the room is dead. Add to the fact that there are plenty of doors which will either close behind you or trigger a cutscene causing the enemies to despawn. There really isn't a huge amount of challenge to it. Most of the time, you can just alert the enemies and just leg it, teleport through, get through the next door, and it won't make a blind bit of difference to you. The only way you can really say that it's a good idea is whether or not you're looking to do a run where you don't get an awful lot of experience, because you will not get experience if you don't at least kill the enemies. If you're able to make it through undetected, you get a bonus there, but that is really about it. And obviously you get more experience for a stealth kill than you would for a non-stealth kill. The problem is the game being reliant on stealth would generally involve very good AI. I think that stealth games have to have that. AI has to react in a fairly predictable but also realistic fashion, and the reason for that is simply because the game, for the most part, is going to be about predicting what the enemy's going to do. Now, if I just head around the side here, he's going to back all the way off there. He's going to take cover for a little while. He's probably going to get a little bit bored, and then he's going to wonder at my position. He can't hit me from here, so he could just keep emptying his shots in this particular direction. I could wait for him to reload and then hit him. But it's fine. He's going to very, very slowly advance on this position. Then I'm going to punch him. And that's really going to be all there is to it.
You don't stand a chance.
Not that difficult, really. Oh, look, he's here. Punch him. Not much of a stealth game, really, is it? That's probably one of the biggest problems I've got with it. I mean, the stealth itself is fairly generic. What I will give it credit for, which I think is kind of a shame, is that the rooms are fairly well designed.
Just die and leave me your head.
More often than not, the rooms are mazes that include a bunch of annoying hazards, like glass everywhere, for instance. That tends to alert people to your presence. In the museum, there are areas with motion detectors that will set off the exhibits, which is quite an interesting way of doing things, because, of course, that will alert people to the fact that there is somebody there. The levels are fairly well designed in that respect. They're also kind of maze-like to some degree. So, like your standard sort of linear stealth game, it's more of a puzzle than anything else. Oh, I should have expected that to actually happen. Stupid scripted events. Anyway, I think that some people actually do enjoy that kind of game. And if you want to talk about a stealth game, you talk about something like Dishonored, you have a hell of a lot more freedom with what you do. Funnily enough, this game has a lot of very Dishonored-style powers, like the view, for instance. You know, this is very Dishonored-like. The Shadow Leap teleport is way less fun than anything that Dishonored had. Mostly because you can't really grab onto ledges with it. It's more of a case of, oh, I'm going to very, very slowly teleport over there, and then there'll be a 10-second cooldown, and then I'll do it again, and so on and so forth. You can bypass entire levels that way, but it is a very laborious and tedious way of doing things, so I certainly wouldn't recommend it. The problem I think the game has is just the way that everything is so astonishingly generic, and for a game that supposedly emphasizes stealth, the easiest way is just to generally to run at people and punch them in the face. If you're gonna make a stealth game, then don't do that. I imagine it will be better on higher difficulty levels, but I have a feeling that is not gonna fix the dumb AI. What that's gonna do is just make you die quicker, which is not an interesting way of doing it at all. There we go. Finally, it actually managed to kill me. I should have healed there. I actually very easily could have done that. I had plenty of blood points to do it, but... Oh, yeah, and there's one other thing. The damn checkpoints. They are very far apart. There is a save system, but you are limited as to how many times you can save, and it will replenish at certain points during the level. It doesn't tell you when those points are going to be, though, so you don't really know how to space that out. Pretty irritating, to say the least. Let's see how much of this I can skip through. Thankfully, a decent amount. You just kind of spam the button over and over, but there are certain parts of the cutscenes you can't skip like that, and then there are parts of the cutscenes that you can. There we go. Alright, sorted out. I'll probably just teleport behind him and kill him that way. There we go. Easy enough. Not particularly challenging. If you are consistently feeding and using heals and things like that, there's really no reason for you to ever be dying all that much on the normal difficulty level. Mostly because the AI is that damn stupid. Is it still a serviceable stealth game? It is, for the most part, if you enforce upon yourself the idea that you must play it in stealth. If you do what I do, where it's like, well, I'm going to stealth for a bit, and like, oh, they spotted me, doesn't really matter, now I'm just going to teleport around killing all of them. It's at that point that the game gets astonishingly boring, but it does seem to be the best way to play it. It's a faster way to play it. It can take like 5 minutes to get through an area that would take more like 20 if you just do it that way. Yes, you get less experience, but it doesn't really seem to matter all that much. You'll eventually get the abilities you want anyway, and a lot of them would appear to be somewhat worthless. The storyline of the game is pretty weak. You are a newly born vampire, you don't know who sired you, and that's really about it. You end up in this club, which acts as a hub area for the game, which is actually a complete waste of time. There's no reason for the club being there, there's no meaningful interaction within the club, and it plays the same damn song over and over and over again, which is extremely annoying. Alright. Let's head on over in this direction. Give me cover, he says to the ghoul over there. There's a lot of annoying barks in this game as well. They say the same thing over and over and over again, even in absolutely pointless scenarios where it doesn't really apply, which is particularly silly. You know, asking this ghoul to give you cover, for instance. I mean, the ghouls in this game are supposed to be mindless animal vampires. They're probably not going to listen to security guards in a museum, really. Let's be entirely frank with that. you do get a reasonable amount of warning as to whether or not you're actually going to be detected, so it's not too tricky. It's mostly an exercise in patience, and unfortunately, I just don't think it executes it all that well. It's a particularly boring game in the sense of the idea that you are a superpowered being that is so incredibly limited in what he can do, especially early on in the game. This is not... You're not really stalking your prey so much in this game as a vampire. You're actually doing the opposite. You are being stalked. You're being taken down by museum security guards. And then when you do fight them, you don't even do it in an interesting way. You just walk up to them and click them. I'm sorry, unless it's Assassin's Creed multiplayer, I don't find that acceptable. It's tedious, unfortunately. Like, it has reasonably interesting design graphically. I mean, I could applaud the nice black stroke design that it's got going to it. It looks quite like Darkness 2, actually, which is no doubt deliberate. Even the use of purple, I think, is very much deliberate. It's not a bad-looking game. It looks premium. The problem is everything else about it isn't. It doesn't play like a premium title. It doesn't... Animation quality-wise, it generally looks dreadful. So, as a direct result, any benefit you would have got from seeing the absolutely phenomenal graphics, assuming that it had phenomenal graphics, would be taken away by the fact that the game just looks awful whenever you animate anything in it. The combat animations look bad, the feeding animation looks absolutely awful, dragging stuff around is a gigantic pain in the ass, the lip syncing is next to non-existent. Shame. Shame. This is not the stealth game you're looking for, as far as I'm concerned. Frustratingly tedious, with mindless AI, and real mixed messages about what you're supposed to be doing in the game. I do respect some titles that give you the option, yeah? But the thing is, when you give somebody the option, you've got to make sure that the alternative is good. It's like, say, let's talk about Deus Ex as a stealth game, right? Why is that good as a stealth game? It's good as a stealth game because you have plenty of methods to use while in stealth. Stealth is entirely viable, but if you get into a fight, the fighting is fun and well fleshed out. In this game, if you get into a fight, you get in range of someone, you click on them, they die, and you rinse and repeat. And more to the point, the AI is bloody brain dead anyway. They're just gonna keep doing this until they eventually slowly walk around the corner. And then I'm just gonna bite them. There we go. And then I'll just do the same thing, because that's all they're gonna do. That's all they will ever do. Yeah. Either make it a pure stealth game, just have combat not even be a factor, or make the combat so absurdly difficult that you would never want to do it. Or don't include that stuff in the first place. Don't try to be both. Don't pretend to be a stealth game and then have the easiest way of beating the game be a non-stealth approach. That's just silly. It doesn't benefit from it at all. The stealth in this game is serviceable, the combat isn't, but it is crippled by mind-numbingly stupid AI and pretty bad production values. Definitely not worthy of the $40 or your regional equivalent that this title actually costs by any stretch of the imagination. God, I didn't even do anything. How stupid is this? Oh, man. Dark, ladies and gentlemen, available for $40, £30, or €44.99. Gonna go with no on this one, I'm afraid. I don't think so. I can see what they were trying to do, but they definitely didn't pull it off. Not by any stretch of the imagination. My name's been TotalBiscuit, taking a look at Dark. Could I, stop looking at it now? That would be nice. We'll see you next time.